County, and notice of this meeting was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building.
Thank you, April. Can we all stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance to our country? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We now have a moment of silence for our troops, their families. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go right into workshop, and April has something to talk to us about the best practices.
Yes, the CFO prepared the best practices checklist for this year. It was emailed to the mayor and council for their review. We just have to acknowledge that it was received, and at the council meeting, we scored a 21 out of 23, so there will be no loss in aid.
Very good. Okay, are there any petitions? Jim, do you want to say something about the best practice, or?
No, the event.
That was Jim.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We skipped over petition. Petitions are the event.
That's under the council. Okay.
Oh,
Should we just?
did you want to do that on a report?
Sorry about that. We had a little conflicting thing.
I'm flexible. I was going to do it under the
Under
reports of the council,
Yeah.
but
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay. So any petitions?
No, we did not receive any petitions.
Okay. Approval of the minutes.
Can I have a motion to approve the October 19th minutes?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, we'll have the reports of council. Tom?
Thank you, Council President Juan. I've been traveling, so I have not really had too much activity on any of my committees or councils. The planning board's been canceled the past couple of months. They don't have any business coming before them. I know that the finance committee has been busy. That meeting is at the beginning of December, so I'll have more to report after that. I know that we had a storm a couple weeks ago that put a lot of sand onto Ocean Avenue, and I was surprised at how quickly it got cleaned up. I'll be interested in hearing from Mr. Kirschenbaum later on about if we're going to seek any sort of recuperation for overtime and whatnot on that, and what the chances are. The only other thing I wanted to remind everybody of is that the Veterans Day service is this Thursday at 9:30 at Memorial Park. And that's all I have for my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman McCracken?
Yeah, thank you. Building on what Councilman Carvelli said about the Veterans Day service, I just wanted to talk about some additional upcoming events. There's a USS Juneau service on November 13th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. That's being hosted by the Calvary Baptist Church. Senior Coffee is on November 17th, 11 a.m. at the Taylor Pavilion. Our menorah lighting this year is going to be on November 29th, 5:30 p.m. in Piano Plaza. Senior game days are being held every Monday at 12:30 at the Taylor Pavilion. The Mayor's Ball this year will be held on Friday, December 3rd at 6 p.m. We encourage everybody to attend and sponsor that event if you're able. The tree lighting will be on December 4th at 5:30 in Piano Plaza. And for those looking for stocking stuffers and other nice Christmas gifts, the season beach badges go on sale December 1st. This is our only November meeting. We have the league next week, the League of Municipalities. Just wanted to take a few moments to highlight some events going on between now and our next council meeting. We got some good news here. Belmar, we received $712,000 from the DEP for the Lake Como
Okay,
outfall pipe project.
yeah.
So that was great news.
Okay.
If any of you have been over near the waterworks, the ground water storage tank has been painted. It looks absolutely fantastic. The 15th Avenue paving project is completed, and they will be back to do restoration and striping there on 15th Avenue. 12th Avenue paving from Ocean to B Street is ongoing, as well as the concrete work on 16th Avenue. And don't forget, this year we're having our home decorating contest, which is being sponsored by REC. Registration starts on November 15th. So those who are interested in participating in that event, please do so. It's something new and different. Should be a lot of fun. Exciting to see how that goes. The Belmar Housing Authority, we had our meeting on November 1st. A lot going on at the Housing Authority, believe it or not. But the superintendent and the executive director are working hard to make sure the residents there get the services they need and make sure that the building is safe. Booster shots are being held next Monday, so I guess that was yesterday, hosted by the BNA on site at the Housing Authority. So that was a great service that we're able to bring to the residents there. An engineer is being brought in is being retained to evaluate the exterior of the building. So that's needed periodically just to make sure bricks and mortar and everything is in place like it has been. The superintendent is also looking at identifying a landscaper to do spring and fall cleanups, edge, mulch, prune, trim, stuff like that. The current person who's doing the lawn just does just mows it. And we've identified the fact that, that streetscape could be improved there on 8th Avenue and Railroad and over on 7th, just to improve the overall look of Belmar. So a lot of progress and a lot of good things happening, not only around town, but over at the Housing Authority as well. And that's my report.
Thank you, Jim. Councilman Brennan.
Thank you, Madam Council President. I'm waiting for a chance to say that. Thank you. I have two things. One's going to be pretty quick, and then the other one's going to take a little longer. One of the things I didn't mention at the last meeting that was brought up at the Environmental Commission, and then we saw it when we were there with the volunteers planting the plants, is concern about electrified bicycles riding up and down the boardwalk. They're very popular. I have several friends who are using them because it's easier to use. And we're going to be working with the chief to make sure that people realize we already have an ordinance in place that prohibits their use on the boardwalk. They're not allowed. So we're going to make sure there's some signage and make sure people are aware that you can't ride, as lovely as it is, you cannot ride your electrical bicycle up and down on the boardwalk. I was shocked at how fast some people were going. All right, now that brings me to the planting. I have a long list of people to thank for the planting, and then we're going to talk about what happened. It was amazing. We had a really, really great turnout of great volunteers. Some of them even came back. We planted on Wednesday. We couldn't finish everything, so some people came back on Thursday morning. We spent about another hour finishing it up. So there's Lou Fierro, who's a member of the Environmental Commission. The Hayner sisters, Claire and Sharon. Sharon was a Thursday person, and Claire was one of the 2-day people. Good for her. Sharon Fowler, Joe McAvoy, Art from the Garden. Some of the people I didn't get their last names. A lovely lady named Lincoln, who was born on Lincoln's birthday, she told me. Anna and Don Murray, Trina Klapsis, Sandy Caputo, another lady named June, Dana Frazier, Maria Rondinaro, and I really want to thank the people from DPW. Bill Musto and John McGuire were a big help getting everything organized, and then Chris Evans and Kevin Gann, who's always a great help with plans, and Chris, I want to make sure I say that, Musialowski. They were all there. We spent about 4.5, 5 hours on one day and then came back the next day. And we really did a great job of planting and got so much of the boardwalk done. It really looked great. And now we all know what farmers feel like when they plant their crop and a natural disaster comes in and wipes everything out. I mean, what are you going to do? We're in discussion with DPW about what we can do. It's definitely going to have to involve the DEP if we're going to move sand around the beach, because they have a lot to say about what we do on our beach. One thing I would say, I want people to keep in mind, I mean, not everything is wrecked. I would say, based on my preliminary assessment, about half the boardwalk is fine, and the planes are going to do what they're supposed to do, and they're going to be fine. We are not building a dune system here. We're not trying to do that. Real dunes are tall, anywhere between 10 to 20 feet high, that are held in place with dune grass, basically, close to the shore. And then there are secondary dunes behind them. This is in a natural dune environment, a beach that's not manicured or maintained by anybody. There'll be a secondary set of dunes that has mixed vegetation, shrubs. That's where you see the evergreen trees, things like that. What we're basically trying to do is employ that secondary dune concept to plant plants on the east side of the boardwalk, so that the sand will pile up around the plants. One of the reasons we had the sand blow over is because nothing's holding it in place. The brand new plantings weren't enough to do it. They're far too small. If we'd have had the planting done 4 or 5 years ago, up and down the boardwalk, I mean, we couldn't have, but if we had, then that big blowover that happened the week before last, it probably wouldn't have happened much at all. You wouldn't have seen any of the kind of destruction and sand blowing everywhere that we ended up seeing. We're going to move forward. We're going to assess in the spring. We're going to talk to DEP. We're going to see what our options are. The whole idea about putting these plants in there is because if they're established and they're holding the sand in place, and we have velocity wave action like we had at Sandy, which everybody, I don't know about you all, but I'm pretty convinced that sooner or later it's going to happen again. The idea is all the plants and all the sand that they're holding would probably be destroyed by the waves, but they would protect the boardwalk. And I'd rather spend, tens of thousands of dollars on the plants than a few $1 million rebuilding a boardwalk, because there's no guarantee FEMA would pay us the money they paid us last time. There's no guarantee. So that's part of the idea. That's why, I mean, it is really discouraging. I'll be honest with you, it's very discouraging, and it's, what are you going to do? Every year we try something different. We try our best to see if we can make it work. Let's see what happens now. And I really want to express my appreciation for all the people who came out and volunteered. It couldn't have happened without you. You were troopers. It got really hot that first day. Nobody expected it to get hot, kind of like today. And everybody stayed and did everything they could. And it was really nice to see the community come together to work on this project. And it's nice to see people supporting it. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. It was very interesting. Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda. And this will be the public session. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of the resolutions tonight? Did you have one, Mr. Cream?
Yes, Eugene Creamer, 4th Avenue. Real quick question. This is Resolution 2021-233, resolution authorizing the use of an electronic tax sale. My question is this tax sale going to include water and sewer accounts?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Okay, I guess I have a further comment about that. Actually, as you may or may not know, in the state of New Jersey, all the regulated public utilities, since the governor issued some of his executive orders, have not shut off either gas or electric service. Now we have, it's not a regulated, our water department is not a regulated public utility. It's a community water system, okay? I guess where I'm coming from here, and if you recall, towards the beginning of the of the pandemic, this mayor and council passed a resolution objecting to New Jersey Natural Gas moving forward with a gas rate case. And one of the firm reasons that was in that resolution was because we were in a pandemic, and also that it would be potentially tough on businesses. I really don't see any difference here. We have, yes, it's a community water system, but we're providing essential services in order for people to live. Do you feel it's correct that that the town take a different stance on something like this? In as much as we're already dinging these people, I believe 18% interest rate. To me, that seems to be misaligned with what's going on with regulated public utilities and the troubled times that we're going through. Also, it's my understanding that at least with the regulated public utilities, that there is going, let's put it this way, you still get your bill from New Jersey Natural Gas, you still get your bill from Jersey Central Power and Light Company, but nobody's service has been disconnected and nobody has been charged any interest on those delinquent bills. In fact, there's many people, renters, that haven't paid an electric or gas bill since the pandemic began, and the governor issued his executive order. I'm just wondering whether the town, before throwing these water and sewer accounts over to the wolves, have we investigated as to whether in some of this federal funding, whether there's going to be any money available to make the town whole?
Patrick, do you want to comment on that?
So, it's kind of a fine line that's being asked to be crossed, because on one hand, you do have the compelling circumstances that surround the pandemic, but on the other hand, somebody has to pay these bills, and some way these bills do have to be recuperated. And by authorizing the tax sales and the encouragements of liens being placed upon properties, it helps ensure that these bills in the future, in the long run, are paid. Yes, it's kind of like saying like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. The difference between the community utility that we have here in Belmar versus American Gas and Water and those large nationwide companies is just the vastness of their resources compared to the resources that are limited and finite here available in Belmar. When you review something that's a multi-Fortune 500 company, they can afford to let those gases and utility bills go left unpaid, because at the end of the day, they're still incurring profit. It doesn't hurt them as much as the borough of Belmar. So here, you raise some compelling arguments. I have to give it to you. But at the end of the day, it's a tough decision.
Let me ask this question. Have we investigated to see whether, let's put it this way, they're helping out businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's COVID aid for businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Have we investigated to see whether there's any aid available to at least carry the carrying costs? I'm not saying to forget the water bill,
Mm-hmm.
but certainly when you're not being paid, the municipality has a carrying cost.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious as to whether we have done any investigation to see whether whether there's any help available through the legislation and the money that literally billions of dollars that have been allocated to help out situations like this.
Yeah, I'm aware of no grants or anything that's available which could be utilized in circumstances such as we find ourselves present. If they exist, I'm sure our financial team is tracking them down, but I can't speak on their behalf. I just can speak on my own personal knowledge, and I'm not aware of anything.
I'm just curious, does anybody have any clue as to the magnitude? Are the water and sewer, unpaid water and sewer bills, is it material or is it incidental in comparison to overdue taxes?
I don't think we're going to go in and turn somebody's water off. I mean, people are gonna have a chance to talk, to make a payment, who knows? We're just setting this up. We're not trying to hurt anybody, and like Patrick said, we're just the town trying to collect our taxes for water and sewer. We certainly don't want to hurt anybody, that's not why we're here, and I'm sure we would understand circumstances. We certainly are not just gonna turn a switch. I would hope we have the time to talk to people and help them.
Yeah, I'm not talking about letting people slide on their tax bills.
No, I'm talking about the
You know what I'm
water and
saying?
sewer, yeah.
What I'm talking about is water. It's an essential to live, okay? And just like nowadays, electric, it's essential to have electric, okay? Just like if you heat up your house with natural gas, it's essential in order to live in your house that you have natural gas. I just find it here somewhat ironic that, you know, we're taking a stance on something, and like I said, beating them, I believe it's 18% interest, credit card interest rates, right, on unpaid bills. I'm just curious as to, they've done it with the other utilities, I'm just curious. And you could be sure that New Jersey Natural Gas and Jersey Central Power and Light Company, they're going to be made with federal funding that is being made available or may already be available. They're going to be made whole, and they're going to, you know, the carrying costs of that unpaid debt will, you know, they'll be compensated for that. I'm actually curious as to see whether there's anything here that can be done to give people relief on their water and sewer bill. That's all.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I have a motion to close the public session on the resolutions?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor? Can I have a motion to remove Resolution 2021-232 from the consent agenda?
A motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-232? It's a resolution accepting completeness of the voluntary sidewalk improvement project and establishing the commissioners of assessment.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Juan?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
I'm going to abstain because I partook in the sidewalk program, so I really can't vote on this.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
And can I have a motion to approve the amended consent agenda?
Motion.
Second?
Okay, Councilman Juan?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Next, we have ordinance 2021-33. This is second reading and public hearing on bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of vehicles. This is open for public comment if you'd like to speak on this ordinance.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to close the public comment?
Motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Motion.
Second?
Okay, Councilman Juan?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Next is second reading and public hearing on ordinance 2021-34. This is another bond ordinance providing for the acquisition of vehicles. It's open for public comment if anyone would like to speak on the ordinance.
Mr. Kramer?
Eugene Money on Fourth Avenue. I don't have any problem with the bond ordinance. It's just that Section 3,
Thank you.
except in Section 3, This bond ordinance, the money would be used to purchase one 2022 Ford E350 utility van. To the best of my knowledge, the Ford Motor Company has discontinued production of the E-Series van and moved over their production lines to the Ford Transit. I have an E250 van, and I know I could not buy another one today. I guess what
That's a,
I'd like to know where you're buying this thing.
DPW worked on the specs for what they needed, so that's what we have, and they've done their due diligence, so we'll hopefully have what's spec'd out.
Yeah, I'm just saying they don't make them anymore.
Well, we got it from DPW, so I don't know what Ford did, but I'll check into that.
Maybe you'd be better off just saying 2022 Ford van.
I can't tell them what kind of equipment they get, they're the ones that spec it out, so I'll sit down with DPW and see exactly what's happening.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, he brings up a good point, though. If that is a discontinued product, we want to add some flexibility in this ordinance to say or equivalent or successor or something like that, so we're not, can we do that on second read?
We can't, Councilman McCracken, we can't do that on second reading. We could either choose to adopt the ordinance as written and thereafter amend it to utilize any correct specification in the event there was an error.
So
Alternative, we could just scrap it and start
they'll
over.
come back.
Yeah, let me just mention,
I mean, is it actually a problem?
I don't
see it as a
problem of it. In the event that it's just a scrivener's error, in the event that it should have been a Ford other form of utility van and it's comparable, it has everything that's identified within the section. I don't think there's anything unpermissible with the ordinance as written, especially if Mr. Kramer's correct and there's no such thing as an E350 2022 version. But if there is a utility van that meets the specifications, then it's appropriate and valid.
you see, the E-Series van is a box-on-frame construction. Ford changed over to the Transit because it's a unibody type of construction in order to meet all the EPA mileage requirements. To the best of my knowledge, they're not producing any E-Series vans anymore. It was probably the largest selling van ever made in this country, and they made it for many years, but no longer available.
Well, we'll sit down with DPW and see what they found out.
Yeah, you can get a nice Transit.
There's a problem with vehicles in this country anyhow. We don't know when we'll be able to get anything because everything's just, the factories have been closed down. So we have to move forward and try to get everything allocated so we can get the trucks. And we'll meet with DPW.
I'll let you know if you find one.
Yeah, we'll let you know if we find them.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And can I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Second.
Okay, Councilman Mon?
yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken? Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
And last is first reading and introduction on ordinance 2021-35. This is an ordinance amending the recycling program regarding the ban on plastic. So this is just for first reading and introduction. Do you have a motion to offer?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Long?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman McCracken?
Yes.
Councilman Carvelli?
Yes.
Okay. We'll open up the microphones to the public session. Anybody have any questions?
Council President Juan, my name is Joe McAvoy. I live right across the street, 700 Main in Belmar. I'm not a good speaker, but I'm a solid writer, so I'm just going to read what I wrote to you. I came to address Councilman McCracken. Mr. McCracken, I voted for everyone here at least once, including the mayor. I voted for you twice, so I came here on behalf of the military veterans in town to request action from you. First, though, before we get to that specific request, I'd like to say that today is the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. And although the world is at the lowest point of global conflict in human history, more than 70% of the world's countries, governing bodies, are moving ever so closer to fascism, communism, and the like, including America. Your mayor spoke on 9/11 about this administration bringing patriotism back to Belmar, and that this administration stands for freedom. After this speech on 9/11, where he rhetorically spoke so proudly of bringing the playing of God Bless America to the 9th Avenue Pier nightly at sunset at the public marina, I found out from a local Marine, Don Henniger, works right across the street and lives right down the block. And ironically, it's the Marine Corps birthday tomorrow. I found out from Don that there's no lights on the 2 U.S. flags along Monument Road at 3 Acre Park. Later that week, I also realized every single U.S. flag that flies on borough property at night is illuminated. Every one, except for those 2. Only the ones honoring our war dead and the one near it, honoring our fallen firefighters, don't have lights. I was more upset when a local soldier, Wayne Thieling, who did 9 combat tours, Desert Storm, Kosovo, and other places in the global war on terror, let me know that it's been that way for years. And the vets and firefighters have been asking for a remedy of this throughout that entire time. Ironically, again, it's Veterans Day on Thursday. And the mayor plans to give a speech at that place under that rusted flagpole where the trees have begun to overgrow the pole itself. As far as that park goes, it's unacceptable. It's a violation of federal law. He'll tell you, as council here can attest to, patriotism never left Belmar. I came to deliver that message this week on behalf of Belmar's veterans. I wanted to do it last month, but I wouldn't want to be accused of political grandstanding by any members here. Ironically, again, I waited, and now, November 9, 10, and 11, it's like a freedom trifecta. And being a Marine myself, I can tell you, Mr. McCracken, the first rule of anti-commie Marine Corps Veteran Constitutional Fight Club is we the people. We the people, we're sick and tired of the hypocritical stance of this administration, thinking the rules, laws, codes, ordinances, and lately election bylaws don't apply to them. We're sick and tired of hearing it from both parties nationally, and now it continues to creep in our local political scene. It's either total ignorance or total arrogance. There's no other explanation for it, and it needs to end. If you're against kneeling for the flag during our national anthem, then you should also decry the Monmouth County Police Academy bringing a bastardized black and white flag with a blue stripe through it representing a defaced American flag, which also is in strong violation of the U.S. flag code. I think they call that the law enforcement flag. It's one thing when it's on a t-shirt or a hat or a sticker on your car, but when it's in a formation representing county law enforcement on 9/11, ignorance or arrogance? We both know the answer, Mr. McCracken, and we both know that the flag at Monument Row, honoring dead firefighters, honoring dead law enforcement officers in this town, it'd be the best maintained park in the borough. It's amazing how the Republicans who denounce the Democrats for being the hypocrites, the lawless, the tax and spenders, the growers of big government, through cronyism, the propagandists, the political grandstanders, and the fear-mongers are guilty of exactly the same. Now let me tell you, Semper Fidelis, which means always faithful, it's the Marine Corps motto. It's not merely a catchphrase. Mr. McCracken, at this time I still have faith in you and our local government to get the rusted flagpole painted, the trees trimmed away from them, and the main flag and flag from the fallen firefighters memorial lighted properly at night or taken down at sunset and put back at 0800, as Air Force veteran Joe Burns made sure was done when he was a proud, honest man in uniform as a Belmar police officer years ago. Instead of new traditions like hearing Kate Smith at the local tavern, how about we stick with the old ones as defined by federal law? We veterans and those who support the troops call on you to answer the call from those who are no longer with us, as they answered the greatest call and gave the last full measure. Answer the call to defend and uphold our laws as you duly swore when elected. Courage is calling, Councilman McCracken. Answer the call. Good night.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Anyone else? Seeing there are no questions?
Can I have a motion to close the public comment and adjourn the meeting?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.